Hey, this is Hollis. Welcome back to Pop Culture Graveyard. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about a band that I think often gets forgotten when you talk about the cool bands of the early 80s. Today I'm going to talk about Bow Wow Wow. So I first heard Bow Wow Wow on a TV commercial in about 1982. K-Tel Records, The Beat. And it's got all the hot bands of the 80s. I Know What Boys Like by the Waitresses, Dreaming of Me by Depeche Mode, Joan of Arc by OMD, We Got the Beat by the Go-Go's. This is a heavy hitter. Anyway, my young mind was blown. One of the songs featured on the commercial was I Want Candy by Bow Wow Wow. I did not yet know that it was a cover of a 1965 song by the Strangeloves. All I knew was it was the best sounding music I'd ever heard in my life. So I pestered my mom non-stop because at Christmas time my mom would get me and each of my two sisters one album. And so I pestered her to get me this album. And sure enough, Christmas morning, she got me this album. And I played it, and I never stopped playing it. I forget the other K-Tel record that one of my sisters got that I really coveted and I loved. I always forget the name of it. Oh, right, Starlight. Don't ask how I got this. Anyway, I love this song. I love this band. I think they're great. But the reputation of the band were that they were a one-hit wonder. And so I didn't even think I needed to explore further. But later I get into Adam and the Ants. And that's where the Bow Wow Wow story continues. Adam and the Ants have this first album out. Adam enlists the ex-manager of the Sex Pistols, Malcolm McLaren, to manage his band. It's a cool band, they've got a great sound, they just need a little something to help them get over the hump. So what does Malcolm do? That's right, he steals Adam's band. Bad management, bro. Before you take on a manager, you might want to ask a few of your friends for their take on it. Hey, Sid Vicious, how was Malcolm as a manager? Malcolm leaves Adam antless. He antsed him. The ants he stole could be seen on this EP. Matthew, which is Matthew Ashman, the guitarist. Dave Barbie, would later go by Dave Barbarossa, the drummer. And the recorded Adam and the Ants this time had Andy Warren on bass. But by the time Malcolm stole them, they had a guy named Lee Gorman on bass. So Malcolm just took Adam's band. One of Malcolm McLaren's associates found a 13-year-old girl singing along to a Stevie Wonder song in the dry cleaners where she worked. Her name was Annabella Lwin, and she would become the lead singer of Bow Wow Wow. And Malcolm introduced the band to a song called Burundi Black that came out in 1971. And Burundi Black was a bootleg that had been put out by somebody under the alias of Mike Stevenson. What this guy did was sample late 60s recordings of 25 Burundi drummers, and he laid guitar and keyboards over it. And it's this real infectious, hooky, danceable, tribal sound. And that's the direction he wanted Bow Wow Wow to go in. Now he also gave a copy of the record to Adam Ant. Business, not personal. And Adam would actually get his band together quicker and put out that Burundi beat. And what do you do when you lose one drummer? Well, you get two drummers. So Adam very quickly went on to conquer the world. So the first single that Bow Wow Wow put out was C30 C60 C90 Go, when they were on EMI Records, all about home taping. And before there was Napster, the big scare in the music industry was home taping, because people could just get a bunch of blank cassette tapes, tape their favorite albums, and hand them out to their friends. And anyone that wanted to create bootlegs of big albums and sell them on a larger scale could do that as well. And so they were really, really frightened of home taping. So immediately, EMI pulled this single, and that was the first sign of the relationship going south with EMI Records and Bow Wow Wow. This single also came out on cassette. It was the very first cassette single, or if you're an old person, ca-single. The band put out one full-length EP on EMI, and it was a cassette-only EP. The EP was called Your Cassette Pet, and it had songs on it like Sexy Eiffel Towers, a great song called Fools Rush In, a track named after them, Bow Wow Wow, and Louis XIV, Louis XIV. Given the band's subject matter and style of dress, it really wasn't a big stretch for Sofia Coppola to use their music in Marie Antoinette. The band put out a couple more singles until they put out their first full-length, See Jungle, Go Join Your Gang, Yeah, City All Over, Go Ape Crazy. Yeah, that's the title. And on this album, the Bow Wow Wow sound is already firmly established. Matthew Ashman's surf guitar and Lee Gorman's new wave dance beat bass is laid over Dave Barbarossa's Burundi drumming and Annabella's adorable, shrieking, squealing voice. They may not have been taken as seriously as a lot of other bands at the time, but a lot of other bands at the time weren't as much fun. Incidentally, I love this happy, sad taping face. Isn't that adorable? Home taping is killing music, but it's doing it in really cute ways. Anyway, there's really great music on here. Go Wild in the Country, I Am a TV Savage, Jungle Boy, Chihuahua. This album cover was taken from a series of photographs that were done in homage to a very famous Manet painting, whose name I cannot pronounce. Just fantastic art direction. In Annabella, Malcolm also got the ultimate model for his girlfriend Vivienne Westwood's designs. So all through this period, the first year or so of the band members kept kicking Annabella out. They were not happy having to be the out-of-focus guys for a 14-year-old frontwoman, whose looks are becoming a problem. But Malcolm McLaren would keep bringing her back into the band and be like, no, you guys need her. Malcolm McLaren had a lot of sway with the band because not only was he managing them, but he was writing all the lyrics early on. So the band kept taking Annabella back. But you could see the sort of schism that was happening. I mean, she's a 14-year-old girl, and they're grown-ass men. You know, those are two bands, unless they're related. You know, but this ain't the Barge. This ain't the Jets. This ain't ESG. I'm dating myself. Jacksons. I should have said Jackson. Tito! In any case, this album did very well. It provided them with their first top 10 single, Go Wild in the Country. So they were off and running. The band then recorded an EP with Kenny Laguna. You may know his name from all his work with Joan Jett. One of the songs on the Last of the Mohicans EP that Kenny produced was I Want Candy, and it became a runaway MTV hit, establishing Bow Wow Wow in America. To capitalize on that MTV success, RCA quickly put together a comp, I Want Candy, and it features the Last of the Mohicans EP, which produced I Want Candy, but also produced Baby Oh No, which is one of my all-time favorite songs by them. It also added a bunch of tracks from their last LP, See Jungle, such as Jungle Boy, I Am a TV Savage, and their big hit, Go Wild in the Country. This saw the band at their most popular, and it was at this point when fractures in the band became most evident. The band wanted to kick Annabella out as much as ever, but they were trapped now by their success, so they allowed her to stay in the band. But what they did do is freeze her out. And if you see any videos, bootleg or official, from this time period, 1982 onward, the band is not even paying attention to her. And she's not even interacting with the band. And it's normal for a couple of songs or so. But about 5, 6, 7 songs into the set, it gets to be really creepy. They're just ignoring each other. They're freezing her out. And it's hard to watch at times because she really had nobody. But it just speaks to the strength that she had inside of her. She was born a Buddhist, so I think that stood her in good stead with putting up with all the bullshit that the industry and her bandmates were throwing at her at the time. In any case, if you see this album out in the wild, pick it up. You will not be disappointed. It's great. There's no fat on the bone. It's everything you might need from them, and you can see if you want to explore further. Next up, we reach the second full-length LP from Bow Wow Wow. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. This is another solid album. The opening track, Aphrodisiac, is fantastic, and the second track on the album, Do You Want to Hold Me, was another hit for them. One great thing about this album is that Malcolm McLaren is gone, and all of the lyrics are written by Annabella. The lyrics are unique, oblique, magnifique, Louis XIV might say. Annabella's lyrics are the reason that this album is a lot more timeless than their earlier work, which seems sort of locked into that experimental period between punk and new wave and new romantic. I cannot recommend this album highly enough. The band went out to support people like the Pretenders and the Police, where they did pretty well, but then they tried to open for Queen on the Hot Space tour, and Queen fans weren't having it. So they quickly were fired from the tour, and they ended up opening for Madness, which was a much better fit for them. In any case, the entire band was exhausted from the relentless touring, and as soon as they got a break, they fired Annabella once and for all. And the three of them went on to form Chiefs of Relief, with guitarist Matthew Ashman on lead vocals. Chiefs of Relief didn't do much. Dave Barbarossa and Lee Gorman went on to play in a couple of other bands together. Lee Gorman did production work. One of the bands he worked with was called Soho, and they had a big hit called Hippie Chick. He later went on to tour with Soho. Matthew Ashman, he later died of complications from diabetes in '95, I believe. Annabella went on to a solo career that did pretty well. She had a couple of popular songs, Don't Dance with Strangers, and a cover of Fever, made famous by Peggy Lee way back in the day. And it's really, really a good cover. Great production. It's got the little hand snaps that you're going to want on that. Anyway, Annabella is still out touring as Annabella Original Bow Wow Wow. On the fucked up side of things, Lee Gorman has been touring with his own Bow Wow Wow with some other lead singer that he just picked up somewhere. If you have a choice, and you do, go see the original Bow Wow Wow lead singer, Annabella, with whoever she's playing with. Because the music can be replicated, but her vocals cannot. And she was the X factor that made this band so great. If you're looking for a comp, you can't do better than the best of Bow Wow Wow, put out by RCA. It gives you a grand total of 22 songs. That's a lot of Bow Wow Wow bang for the buck. Can't say that again. It's massively comprehensive, and it's got everything you want by the band, including the two solo Annabella tracks, Don't Dance with Strangers and Fever. I have links below to a lot of the music that I talked about today, so please don't forget to click on the description. Show more. And I show more. So that's it for Pop Culture Graveyard this week. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about Bow Wow Wow. Check me out next week for a lot more cool stuff. And please, please, please subscribe.